was shining bright. A gentle breeze was blowing my way. Not a storm cloud in sight.
Then suddenly, without a warning, a storm surrounded my life.
But even in the storm, I can feel the calm. And here's the reason why. I know the peace speaker. I know him by name. I know the peace speaker. He controls the winds and waves. When he says, "Peace be still," they have to obey. I'm glad I know the peace speaker. Yes, I know him by name. There's never been another man with the power of this friend. By simply saying, "Peace be still," he can calm the strongest wind.
So now I'll never worry when storm clouds come my way.
I know that he is near to drive away my fear, and I can smile and say, I know the peace speaker. I know him by name. I know the peace speaker. He controls the winds and waves. When he says, "Peace be still," they have to obey. I'm glad I know the peace speaker. Yes, I know him by name. Peace, peace, wonderful
Hello, and welcome again. Thank you for being connected with us. Today is Thursday, the 7th, and this is the first broadcasting for the month. And today we have something special to share with you. It's a podcast of one of our collaborators with the psychology situations that we might facing these days of pandemia. Today's broadcasting title is "Some Results of a Long Pandemic." In other words, is how we are facing uh, certain situations, certain behaviors based on the long period of time under a pandemic situation. But at the same time, I would like to share with you some of the comments on the chat before we start this broadcasting. Iris Dougherty is saying greetings to all of us and blessing also for us too. We have also Elian Hernandez is connected. Thank you for being connected with us, Elian. He's giving us some blessings. And this one is, I think that is Pastor Carretero under a different name, Lac Didascom. God bless and God bless all brothers and sisters. Thank you for being connected. I know that in the other platform maybe is somebody else connected with us, but at the same time I would like to like I said, I would like to share this podcast, which is a little long, so it's divided between today and tomorrow to continue with it. So just to save some time, let's share with you this podcast and enjoy it at this moment.
Hello and welcome to Mind Care, a podcast. Hello and welcome to Mind Care, a podcast. Hello and welcome to Mind Care, a podcast where we address the issues surrounding adverse childhood experiences. This podcast aims to provide hope, answers, and support to take away the stigma of childhood trauma.
Hi everyone, Rochelle here, and Dr. Dana Philisaint welcoming everyone back to another episode of Mind Care. So today's topic is 6 ways to stay psychologically stable after losing your job. Now this is continuing the Trauma at Home series. Now as a reminder, this podcast aims to provide hope and answers and take away the stigmas of childhood traumas. Now Dr. Dana Philisaint is a professional counselor whose focus is on childhood traumas. Hi Dr. Dana Philisaint.
Hello, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm glad to be back as always.
Good. Now, we were talking, the topic for today is 6 ways to stay psychologically stable after losing your job. So I know when we were talking, I know 2020 has been just a rough year for a lot of people. So let's start talking about that. So how many people reported out of work because of the pandemic?
Well, CNN in April did a interview with some economists, and they reported that in April of 2020, over 20 million jobs were lost in America, and that was because of the pandemic. And that's an estimate of 14% of the U.S. population. And, you know, a lot of the economists and even public health officials, they were comparing it to the Great Depression. So just to kind of give you an idea, in January of 2020, right before the pandemic, the unemployment rate was at 3.6. So from a 3.6 to a 14%. Since April, it has gone down, but it's still not down to where that number was before the pandemic. I think now it's like a 7% or something like that. So it's definitely impacting America for sure, and the rest of the world follows, of course. The impact of job loss can force many people to drastically change their lives, and it's reporting that, you know, for some people, that's the first time they've ever lost their jobs. Think of some of the millennials and how they're, you know, starting to the workforce or so forth. So for some individuals who've never experienced that, having to change their life and not under uncertainty what will take place, you know, can cause psychological impact on them and trying to figure out how to navigate this new world of no job and looking for jobs. Something very hard for them. So that's what we're talking about, ways to help people cope with that.
Okay, so you talked about psychological impact. So what are the possible psychological impacts of job loss on a person?
Okay, so looking at some of the research in America and many other countries, you would probably agree with this too, that people's job and their self-worth sometimes are very interchangeable. You know, some may feel that they've lost their identity as a result of their job loss, or the feeling of sadness, or even symptoms of depression might kick in. And for some, they're actually grieving the loss of their job, almost like they're grieving anything like they lost. You know, of course,
at the same time, I would like to
so the grieving process might take into account for them as well. And so it's not only because of the income. It could be that they're feeling that they're losing control of life or the situation in life. Their professional identity is at stake. So these are some of the struggles. Self-confidence, daily routine might be impacted, and even finding a purpose in their activities is something that they might be struggling with. Of course, their friendship that they've made at work, so their social network might be impacted, and of course their families of security because of the income. But all of these things can give rise to feelings of hurt, anger, anxiety, depression, you know, and this is all fueled from, you know, the loss of insecurity or the fear of insecurity that results in the unemployment. So stress and worry can be very overwhelming for a lot of people during this time as well.
Okay, so here's a question. So is job loss considered, I know, you know, one of the things we focus on this podcast is about trauma. So is job loss considered to be a trauma?
Well, according to Carl Van Harn, he's a professor at Rutgers University. He put it this way. He says, losing a job and being unemployed for a long time is a psychological trauma and a financial one, and the two are very closely intertwined. So that's what he's saying, and I actually agree with that in the sense that, you know, if a person don't have that sense of what's going to happen and the overwhelming feeling that can come with it can cause individuals to get into that mindset of feeling, you know, the traumatic impact.
Okay. Now, here's a question. Now, I know we're talking about the psychological trauma. Now, is it the financial loss that causes the person to experience the psychological trauma? And then what if people are not experiencing any financial problems?
Oh, wow, good question. So, you know, research on unemployment shows that losing one's job is detrimental to mental health and even physical health. And there's a lot of reasons why, and we'll discuss some of that. But it has nothing to do necessarily because of the financial strain. So work can provide people with a sense of time structure. It provides them with purpose. Sometimes it provides them with social interaction with others. So the industrial and organizational psychologist, one in particular from the University of Minnesota, he puts it this way. He says that when you lose all of that, it creates a lot of difficulties for people. You know, looking at some of the studies that's been put on, they found that individuals who are unemployed are more distressed, less satisfied with their lives, their marriage, their family, and they actually report to have more psychological problems than those who are actually employed. And here's the reason why. It's not that the finances is not a problem, but sometimes it's the fact that the people are not engaged in activity or at work that plays a toll on their psychological well-being. So, we are created to work. We're created to do certain things. And so a lot of times people find themselves at home doing absolutely nothing. So being stuck at home doing nothing can create a psychological, problem for all of us, actually. So it's more so because we're not doing anything. If we're not working, that's creating that problem.
All right, so I wanted to add on to what if people aren't experiencing financial problems. So here's another question. Are people safe from the psychological impact of a job loss?
I guess you can be safe in that if you are one that have a plan that can stay active and engage in life itself, then, of course, then you're safe from being psychologically impacted. Life is very unpredictable. Some of us that now have jobs may not have it in 2 years, 3 years, or even, a month from now. And so it's not necessarily the job loss that causes psychological impact. It's the fact that people are not prepared, are not, or always expecting that they're going to be working at a particular job, that, when the job loss happened, they become shocked. And so therefore, because of that, they weren't prepared psychologically for what's to come, And so in other words, we need to be prepared for anything, And one of the things that I do know is that we can't expect our jobs to be stable. And so anything can happen. So prepare yourself that in the event that you lose your job, do you have a plan? And what can the plan be? Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to work for someone, but maybe you need to start creating something so that you can be prepared when that happens.
Okay, as you hear this conversation on the podcast, uh, Dr. Philosant was remarking the fact that one of the problems of this long pandemic is the losing of the job. Most of us, thanks God, we kept our job, we kept our position in our companies, but not too many people can say that. It's so uh, frustrating, and it's basically a situation where we have the hands completely tied because there is no other way that the company have to react, especially when it's not production, especially when it's so much of the changes of their policies in order to continue in business. Definitely, this pandemic is been impacting the financial position of many people. Some notes that I took here, she was mentioning that 20 million uh, jobs were lost within the pandemic just by March 2020. That represent a 14% of the USA population, which is a very high demand. Yes, as you know, we've been receiving some kind of assistance from the government, but at this point, as of today, some of those assistance are completely gone. No more receiving of assistance. So uh, what we try to accomplish here is the fact that even though we are in pandemic, we have to be loyal to our God in all the aspects, and we have to have the confidence that God will provide us with whatever we really need. By saying this, I hope that this program today it has been, it could be a blessing for many of us, and if it's not for blessing for us directly, it could be blessing for our families or members of the or any other members of the ministry. Tomorrow we will continue with the podcast. We will finish that podcast, and that will be very beneficial uh, for the other aspect of the results of the long pandemic that we are facing at this point. Thank you, Katia, for being with us. Let me put it here. She's saying hello. And also, I see that Luz is connected with us. Again, thank you for your support. I hope that we enjoy this broadcasting, and I hope that you enjoy also this live that we are sharing with you every single week. May God uh, help you if you are facing one of these problems, especially the losing of the job or reducing of your salary. Uh, Hopefully that you can adjust your financial situation to the reality of this long pandemic. I see you tomorrow is my desire and my pray for you. God bless you.
Early will I rise and worship you, giving you thanks for all that you do. My sacrifice of praise I offer you. And you bring to me that sweet melody. You are my song. You are my song. You are the reason I sing this song to you. You are my song. You are my song. You are the reason I sing to you. Early will I rise and worship